This segment is brought to you by Roberto P. Duran Premium Cigars, one of the fastest growing boutique cigar companies, providing smokers a portal into the old Cuban tradition of perfect balance and the lost art of progressive flavor construction. Roberto Paleo Duran began his career in tobacco over 2 decades ago in Havana, where his reputation grew in Cuban circles. The creation of Roberto P. Duran Premium Cigars has given him the platform to introduce a series of cigars that offer the same quality, construction, and detail which he perfected while in Cuba. Brands include the ultra-premium Roberto P. Duran Premium Cigar Series, Azan Cigars, Naya, and Baracoa. Roberto uses a seed to humidor approach as all tobacco is grown in their farms and rolled in their factory in Esteli, Nicaragua. Rollers have been carefully chosen to carry out this precise method to ensure the progressive flavor in each cigar. Progressive flavor construction is an old Cuban technique where the cigar is designed to increase in strength as the cigar is smoked. This technique, combined with premium tobacco, provides a perfectly balanced and pleasurable smoking experience. Roberto P. Duran invites you to make their premium your standard. We're also sponsored by Ocean State Cigars, makers of the J. Grotto Series cigar, including the Connecticut Shade Silk, and recently released J. Grotto Anniversary Series. You can visit them on the web at oceanstatecigars.com. Welcome back, everyone, to this edition of the Stogie Geek Show. We've got another special guest on us for this segment, Mr. Brandon Wilson.
Hello,
from
everyone.
Wilson and Adams. How's it going, Brandon?
Good and yourself. Thank you for having me.
It's nice to have you on the show. I can't tell you how many times I want to call you Brian Wilson. It's like from the song. It's been like stuck in my head like all day. So I'm glad I got it right. Brandon.
Good. Thank you.
You're looking good behind the backdrop of your logos. I've actually smoked a couple of your cigars as we progressed here on the show. I'm very impressed. I had a Robusto with a darker wrapper on it.
Okay. What color was the label?
It was red. It was a red label.
It's my Sumatra.
Yes. Had a very salty component to it. Really, really enjoyed that salty component mixed with all those other flavors. I thought it was really good.
Thank you. Glad you enjoyed.
So, Brandon, how did you get your start in the cigar industry?
Just like a lot of other people, had contacts, but my education started here in Southern California. We have a place down in Orange County that has the largest boutique as far as selection-wise, that it rivals everything else that I've seen out there. So my education started at least about 10 years ago when I used to go there and smoke for free and smoke a lot of different cigars. So all my cigars that I do make have, it come directly from that experience.
Awesome. So tell us about the different lines in your cigars. So the next one I lit up was a white label Lancero, which is also very good. Very different, so I can imagine those blends are two completely different ones. So take us through the blends from the red label and the white label.
Yeah, the white label was my initial cigar that I came out in 2012. It's a blend that comprises of an Ecuadorian Habano wrapper with a Nicaraguan binder and a predominantly Nicaraguan filler. We do that one in 5 different sizes. The Lancero is one of my favorites. And then we also have the red label, which is our Sumatra. It's a Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper with the Pennsylvania broadleaf binder and another predominantly Nicaraguan filler. That one's more of your fuller bodied cigar. It's a medium plus to full, depending on, your expertise in smoking. And it's actually they're 2 different cigars that are made for 2 different people. The white label is made for someone to smoke every day, all day. You can keep on lighting that up back to back and you won't get palate fatigue. And the red label is a little bit, it's just a little bit stronger for the people who want it more strength. But it's 2 totally different blends.
So, Brandon, where does the Adams come from in the brand?
The Adams comes from my former partner. Comes from his mother's maiden name. And when we started this company, we wanted to have both of our namesakes on it. But when he left the company, I kept the name the same since I owned it.
Very cool. Well, did you have questions for Brandon?
Yeah, so, Brandon, you originally, just a little more on your background, you originally worked in the golf world, is that correct?
That is correct. I was a director of golf for many years.
And is that's how you kind of got, I'd say, I don't want to say it was your introduction to cigars, but that's where you really started to kind of, I know once I got into cigars, I just couldn't get away from it.
No, so wait, hold
correct.
on, Brandon. You were director of golf. What does that entail?
I ran golf courses. I was pretty much a general manager. That's what a director of golf is.
So did you get to play a lot of golf in that role?
At the beginning, and then towards the end, no.
Yeah, that work kind of took over, right?
That is correct.
And so I'm assuming that's how you got into was one of the kind of segues into cigars. Is there's a lot of crossover between having a cigar and playing golf, right?
It was. That actually drew my interest more because we actually held a nationwide tour event here at my golf course that I used to manage. And, I had to commission out a cigar bar for the sponsor who was sponsoring the tournament. And that's where me and my former partner met through that. And then that's how we developed our relationship into what is now known as Wilson Adams Cigars.
Awesome.
So yeah, you guys get together. You guys decide you want to go full blown make a cigar.
Correct.
And what was your next step? I mean, kind of everyone who has that dream of doing that. What is the next step after? Like, all right, where do you go from there?
You have to go. You have to go down to Nicaragua or the Dominican or wherever you choose to produce your cigars. You have to go do. You have to go do education. You have to go learn tobacco, and it's a process. It wasn't a process that happened overnight. I mean, it took me close to a year to finalize my first blend. But it's a lot of sacrifice that you have to do in order to make the product correctly on how you want it and what you feel that is best for the consumer.
And where did you end up going in Nicaragua to make that cigar?
I make my cigars with Plasencia and Esteli at their factory. And that's where all my Wilson Adams products are being made at the moment and will be for the distant future, yes.
And you said that the white label was your first one, correct?
Correct.
So in terms of it, this uses the Ecuadorian Habano wrapper. Was there anything that kind of led you to decide, hey, did you go into this saying, I want to make a Habano wrapper? Was there a specific profile you were going for with that first cigar?
I traditionally wanted to start with a Sumatra. I do love that wrapper. But the Habano at the time was the wrapper of choice for consumers. So, I made 4 different blends before I released the first white label, and I tested it through the consumer base that I had here in Southern California, and I let them choose a cigar, and that's the cigar that they chose. And, they till this day, they still smoke it religiously, thank God.
And then the Sumatra obviously was the one that followed it, correct?
Correct.
What were you trying to do different with, I know besides a different wrapper, what were you trying to capture different with the red label?
I like broadleaf, just like everybody else, but I wanted to try something different as far as a different flavor profile from a Sumatra. And so that's why I used the broadleaf binder. It gave it a little pick-me-up and a little bit more flavor with the fillers that I use in there. And it actually turned out to be a brilliant cigar, in my opinion. And, it's a lot of smokers that I know here in Southern California and around that do not smoke Sumatra, but they choose to smoke mine because it's a little different. It's not your traditional.
I agree. It was very different when I had it. And I've had a lot of Sumatras. I've had a lot of stuff out of Plasencia. Both cigars were really different. I've been particularly impressed with this white label Toro Grande. In the big size, this cigar, I mean, the flavors just keep coming at you with this thing. I get this nice dried fruit. I get a little that creaminess that you talk about. There's a lot going on with this Toro Grande here.
Yeah, I mean, actually, the cigar shines the best in that Vitola. It actually has 5 different fillers in that blend. So that's where the flavor combination really shines in that cigar.
What turned you on to work with the Plasencia factory? What were some of the characteristics that you really liked?
I like the family atmosphere that they had. If you've had the chance to go to that factory, you're very comfortable there. They allowed me to use, tobacco at my discretion. I got to use everything and anything, and it became a real good friendship and a partnership. And right now, it's actually been very, 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 very good for me. I'm actually working on some new products out of there as well that I will be launching at the show this year.
I tell you what, Brandon, this Sumatra wrapper,
Hmm.
the when you first before you light it, like and put it in your mouth, it's like a piece of candy. It's like this sweet and saltiness that you get right off the wrapper, even before you light it. Was
Good.
that
Thank you.
was that like a characteristic that you noticed on the wrapper when you were working with it? Like I want to eat it like a candy bar.
Yeah, every cigar that I try to make, I try to get the, the traditionals. Your sweet, your salty. If you can, try to get the savory in there, which is pretty hard, but you have to hit the whole palate. And a well-balanced cigar can come in any shapes and form, and that's every cigar that I do. That's what I try to do. I'm trying to make a well-balanced cigar that people will enjoy time and time again.
So you said you had some new things coming out. What kind of things you working on? You going to be at the show and releasing some new cigars at the show? Are those line
Yeah,
extensions or
I have
new
line
offerings?
extensions. I have a line extension in the Sumatra. I was gonna do the line extension in the Sumatra last year, but I waited. But this year, I'm gonna release that in the Corona Gorda. And I have Connecticut that I've been working on, and I'm finalized that, and that's already been put into production, and that will be my next cigar. It'll be a Connecticut out of the Placencia factory.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm a big Connecticut smoker, as I like to smoke first thing in the morning. So I'll be anxious to try that.
Yeah, it's not your traditional. It's full of flavor like the rest of my cigars, and it's a medium bodied cigar. It's not a mild Connecticut.
We've talked to a lot of folks who've done Connecticut's, and Paul. I'm thinking of Paul Joyle, and I'm thinking of Fred Rui, and they've all said it's a challenge. It's one of the most challenging cigars to make. What was your experience with working with something like that? Did you find it very challenging, more difficult, less difficult?
Um, I know what flavors I like out of certain cigars, and Connecticut is one of my favorite cigars. And so I wanted to hint on the tradition of a Connecticut, but I wanted to make it different so my cigar would be unique. And it posed a slight challenge, but it wasn't that difficult as the blending process came along. The difficult part was, making sure everything was correct as far as percentages and everything and that for the flavor components that I wanted. I wanted, those traditional, hay flavors and all that to shine, but I wanted nuances of different, more modern style cigar into that profile.
Now, you recently, I think you're about to release it if you haven't already. Your first limited cigar, the Mr. Wilson.
This is
Uh,
correct.
yep. It's any day now, or is it? I know it's right around this time it's coming out. I think it's being released at Underground next week or this week.
I actually just got off the phone with Don. We have to postpone the release date due to packaging issues. I'm actually flying to Nicaragua tomorrow to deal with that, and we're going to reschedule the event for the launch date. So I told him he can have the launch, so I will not release it to the public before then, and we will reschedule that date. But it is coming soon, and it's a full new blend. I actually sent some to you into the mail this morning,
Oh, thank you.
and it's a Mexican wrapper with an undisclosed binder and again a predominantly Nicaraguan filler, and it's a full-bodied cigar. It's very smooth in the characteristics of it, but it's full of flavor. I don't. It's actually my best work so far. So I believe you guys will really enjoy it. If you're a full-bodied smoker, you'll like it. If you're a mild smoker, you'll like it because it's not offensive as far as a lot of pepper notes up front. It's not overwhelming, but it's a full body cigar. It's actually triple Ajero, so a lot of people will enjoy that.
And correct me if it's going to be a annual limited production. Is that the plan with this?
That is correct. That is
Okay.
correct. If we, I actually just got an apartment in Nicaragua, right under Skip Martin, to be a matter of fact, and just me ramping up production and doing all those kind of things. I have to be there more often now, and you know, unforeseen events always happen, and things get done the wrong way, and it's nobody's fault. But that's why the release is getting pushed back. But this will be a release that's released every year on my birthday, which is next week, May 19th, and it will be an official release date every year.
Well, happy birthday! And
Well, thank you.
I have to ask, what's it like being underneath Skip? Martin. That sounds weird. When
You're
I
gonna
ask
eat.
that.
You're gonna once he's back on his feet, you're gonna eat quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a dear friend of mine, and the apartment came available underneath him, so I hopped on it, and I'm always at his place anyway, so it just made sense for me to be there.
In terms of your footprint with your cigars, so you, at least the perception I heard was you were primarily a Western U.S. market,
That's correct.
obviously that's where you're located. Are you starting to make the push now into the East? Because to be honest with you, until I met you at the show last year, I hadn't been able to find your cigars, at least in the Southeast.
Right. Yes, I do have a rep in the Southeast now, and I'm making a push there. I'm making a push in Texas, and those will be my two key target markets besides California. Um, I started doing an advertising campaign, which came out this month in Cigars and Spirits. So I will progressively expand the brand. I was very cautious and optimistic about the product coming out. I'm in a tough market, and I do have some real good placement here in Southern California. So now it's time for me to actually expand, and that's my target focus at the moment. Correct.
A lot of folks we've had on the show, and especially in the last few weeks, Paul, Texas. What is it,
Yeah.
Brandon, you think about that Texas market? Because everyone talks about that's the market they really are spending a lot of time on right now.
Texas smokes a lot of cigars, and they, from what I see, they're not biased to new brands. They give us a chance. They allow us to come in and do events and all those type of things, and they're just very cigar friendly. I think Texas is where the next boom for the cigar industry is going to start. You have places like the Underground that is doing very well. You have places like International Stogies. You have that. You have real huge nice establishment like Elite in Dallas, and it's and Blue Smoke and all that kind of stuff. It's real nice. I think they're just more cigar friendly. Where I come from here in California, you can drive into a certain city, and if you're smoking a cigar, you can get a ticket for smoking in your car. So it's very bad, and Texas is that last foothold from that's close to me that allows you to have those free options of life, I guess.
Brandon, you make a good point. Because I moved down to Charlotte in 2008, and I was living in the New York, Philadelphia area, and those markets would just, no, there weren't as many boutiques then, but they just weren't as receptive to these new brands. And when I came to Charlotte, it was almost an immediate eye opener in terms of what I saw available to me. So I kind of agree. There are certain markets that do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's as for me, I want to be one of the larger brands. So you just have to take the steps accordingly, and you got to find your target audience and just focus on that and just build it step by step. Don't try to go too far too fast.
Sorry, I'm still getting over the outrage of getting a ticket for smoking in your car.
Yeah, we'd be in jail if
Yeah,
it was us.
It's bad in certain places in Southern California.
That's I'd be getting a ticket every day because almost every day I light up. That's why I said I'm a Connecticut smoker. A lot of times on my really long commute of 10 minutes here to the studio in my office, which is in the back, have a cigar lit already when I'm walking in. So yeah, that's really, I'm outraged by that actually.
Yeah, it's
Brandon,
tough.
what?
Go ahead.
Oh, I was to say, what were you smoking before you kind of started smoking your own stuff? Like, what kind of cigars did you like beforehand?
I smoked everything. Um, you know, I'm here in Southern California. I was just like everyone else. I was a big Tatuaje fan. Still am. Um, I smoke. I used to smoke a lot of 601s. I used to smoke a lot of. I still to this day smoke a lot of Davidoffs. I smoke any and everything. My palate's so varietal. It's I can smoke a full-bodied cigar LFD one day, and then I can just go back to a Oliva. Oh, it doesn't matter. I love cigars in that aspect, and I'm always looking to see what new flavors or what people are loving and all that kind of stuff. So I think I'm just I'm your typical cigar geek.
Yeah, Stogie Geek. You're a Stogie Geek, as we
Yeah.
say. Yeah. Yes. It's interesting. We were just talking to Eddie Ortega before your segment, and he was talking about how having a core line is very challenging actually these days, and there's a lot of pressure with these limited editions. Have you found that pressure yet? Are you getting the pressure to deliver something what's new? Are you kind of worried that maybe your core lines in 2 years maybe are not going to do as well? Are these things you're kind of looking at right now?
Um, Not really. That's my focus is core, and I will always focus on that, even if it turns slow. We'll figure out a way to get beyond that and market the product correctly and get it back into people's mouths. But I think you're nothing if you do not have a core brand and core lines, and you have to build those, and then that's your base. And yes, you need limited editions to keep the public interested in your product. And my limited editions will be more of your fuller bodied cigars that I don't make, and cigars that I need to produce for that clientele. And it will be cigars for what we call, like you said, Stogie Geeks. It will be different projects that I do. Later on I will announce another project that I have going on, and it's something that I think is necessary for a brand. But to have a core line that's what you need. You have to have cores, and that's the only way to build a valuable brand. You can't build a brand without having core lines.
Sorry, I just had a moment. There was people messaging me.
That's good. I just dropped. I
was-
just asked myself too. It was kind of a simultaneous
I
thing.
was kind of lost in my cigar. I love the way that the smoke from the red label coats your palate, Brandon. Is that, in your opinion, more of a function of the wrapper? Because I get this wonderful kind of coating across your entire palate that not many cigars do. Is that something you blended for specifically? Does that primarily come from the wrapper?
It comes from the wrapper and a certain filler that's in there. It's a filler that I use in every one of my cigars that have the Wilson Adams label on it. And, that's my signature of what I like in a cigar. And that's why it has, some of my cigars have certain nuances of the same thing, but I do use one tobacco that is cohesive throughout the Wilson Adams line.
Is that in the primarily Nicaraguan filler?
Yeah, that's correct.
I like how you put that, primarily Nicaraguan.
I mean,
there's other stuff in there, but we can't. We're not talking about that.
That's right.
I like it.
Yeah, I like it too.
So, did you smoke Cuban cigars? And what
Yes.
are kind of your thoughts on the Cuban cigars? A lot of people have a lot of strong feelings about Cuban cigars.
I love all cigars. I don't dislike any. My favorite Cuban cigar is a Trinidad Fundadora, and I like the Trinidad line. I like the Trinidad Reyes, and I smoke those not often, but I smoke them frequently.
What are some of the different trends that happen in Southern California when it comes to cigars?
You get a lot of guys who want a lot of more fuller bodied cigars. That seems to be the trend that's not leaving.
Interesting.
But it's a Southern California smokers are finicky because they have everything on the shelves, and we don't have like big huge. I'm lucky to have my full line at certain shops, and if you have more than 4 facings at a shop, you're doing pretty well because there's so many different varieties that everybody wants to smoke. You won't go and see a full shelf of Perdomo or a full shelf of Drew Estates. It doesn't happen here. And like I did my first tour in the South last September, and you saw that it was a totally different market. So it's just everybody here wants something new every day, every single day.
Yeah, it's that trendy Southern California vibe kind of thing.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
Correct. I mean, it's from a new car to some new shoes. It's everything. Everything has to be new.
Excellent. Will, any last questions for Brandon?
I think I got everything covered.
Okay.
So let me make sure I pull these up there. Brandon, are you ready to play 5 questions with the Stogie Geeks?
Oh, sure.
You weren't prepped on this.
No,
No,
I
no.
wasn't.
That's good. That's the way we like it.
Good.
These are the original 5 questions, by the way. So just want to
Okay.
add that.
They are. If I can't, I lost them, of course. Now I can't find them. Sorry. Fill time for a second while I find them.
I can go with the first one.
Okay, go ahead.
3 words to describe yourself.
Persistent, family, trust. There you go.
Brandon, if you were a serial killer, what would be your weapon of choice?
A knife.
If you wrote a book about yourself, what would the title be?
It would be Brandon Wilson.
In the popular game of Ask Grabby Grabby, do you prefer to go first or second?
Always first.
Choose 2 celebrities to be your parents.
Richard Pryor
Love it.
and I don't know. I can't think of the second, but I need somebody.
Always the
Tough
toughest
one.
one.
Yeah. Hell, I Madonna. There you go.
There you go.
There you go. Very nice. Awesome. Brendan, thank you very much for appearing on the Stogie Geek Show. It was nice having you.
Same here. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. Really appreciate it. Great cigars.
Thank you, Will.
With that, we are going to cut to the next segment, which will be our Debonair Ideal segment. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.